So here's a famous quote from the second sex. The Beauvoir writes, "She is determined and differentiated in relation to man, while he is not in relation to her. She is the inessential in front of the essential. He is the subject, he is the absolute. She is the other." Now, once again, Beauvoir is using philosophical jargon here. But we only need to look at how masculinity is traditionally privileged over femininity. Not just when it comes to ordinary attitudes, but also when it comes to concepts. So with regard to the first one, how masculinity is privileged over femininity when it comes to ordinary attitudes, expectations, and assumptions. Think only of the simple example of how we address men and women. In the Philippines, it's still very much the norm to refer to a married woman as Mrs. and to refer to an unmarried woman as Miss, which is really an outdated term that marks a woman for her unmarried status. The word Miss, M-I-S-S, that literally means maiden, someone who is unmarried. But when we refer to men, the salutation we use is just Mr. It doesn't mark whether they're single or married. Now, if you've ever wondered why that is the case, we were just born into this world where, our mom is called Mrs., and me, in as much as if you're female, if you're not married yet, you'll be Miss, and then if you get married, you'll be called Mrs., and you're gonna take on your husband's surname, which is gonna replace your father's surname. So this whole convention of getting our surnames from the male line, and also being marked for your marital status. So if you've ever wondered why that is the case, it's from the patriarchal tradition of women being property. So they were not really perceived as agents or subjects or true citizens. At least not until feminism, fought the good fight, and we're now in this era where women are not property anymore. And as a result, there's really no need to use labels for them whose original purpose is really to indicate whether they're under the auspices of their father's household or their husband's household. They're Miss or Mrs. So note how those salutations exemplify what Beauvoir means by woman as the other. Because the norm is the male, and woman as other is defined in her relationship to him, whether she's his daughter or she's his wife. And it's the only two roles that in terms of some man that women are traditionally occupied, and which is still reflected in our use of salutations for male and female. Now, I'm not sure a lot of people know this in the Philippines, but feminists actually from the 1970s onward came up with an equivalent term to Mr., which does not mark women for their marital status, and this is the salutation Miss, MS, Miss. Now, I think in the Philippines, people confuse MS, Miss, with MISS, which means unmarried woman. Miss is silent about marital status. Now, sometimes when women use that MS, people think, ano, what's wrong with them? Are they divorced or are they whatever? So the idea is, you have kind of a confused status. But that's the term doesn't imply anything like that. And whatever stereotypes are attached to it is because of people's misconceptions of what feminism is all about. Okay. Now, if you ask me what you'd like to call me, I prefer doctor. And actually, this brings me to a recent controversy that has to do with Dr. Jill Biden, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden's spouse. She has a PhD in education, and she goes by the title Dr. Jill Biden. And recently there was this opinion column that was published in the Wall Street Journal. I forget the exact reasoning because it's so shallow, but she was basically attacked for using her title, saying that she's not a medical doctor, PhDs are worthless, and she shouldn't be using doctor. She should just call herself Mrs. Biden. So that opinion column actually deservedly got a lot of violent reactions, and I say deservedly because the sort of thinking is actually colored by the privilege of the writer as a white male person who couldn't seem to get it's like they lived in a different era and completely missed the feminist movement. But I encourage you to Google it if you're not familiar with that news. So you have men, putting women down, or even women putting other women down, probably because they have this throwback patriarchal mindset that would seem to be afraid of women taking charge of their lives, or acting as their own person. That sounds like such a basic right that any human being ought to have, but for some reason there are people who can't get that. All right.